The mid-1920s marked a pivotal moment in the history of the American city. While the horse-drawn carriage was a fading memory, the chaos of early urban transportation was reaching a boiling point. Cities were growing rapidly, and the need for a standardized, reliable, and professional transit system was becoming undeniable. Enter 1925, a year that would forever change the automotive landscape. This wasn't just about personal luxury cars, it was about the infrastructure of movement itself. At the center of this storm was the Yellow Cab Manufacturing Company, a brand that had already become synonymous with the bright hue of reliability. Today, we explore how General Motors, under the visionary leadership of Alfred P. Sloan, decided to step in and acquire this titan of the streets, merging the manufacturing prowess of a conglomerate with the operational genius of the world's most famous taxi fleet. To understand the GM acquisition, we must first look at the man behind the yellow, John D. Hertz. Hertz was more than just a businessman, he was a master of branding. He realized early on that a taxi wasn't just a car, it was a service. He chose the iconic yellow color because a university study suggested it was the most visible color from a distance, a key factor for urban safety and brand recognition. By 1925, the Yellow Cab Manufacturing Company wasn't just making cars, they were building the Model O, a vehicle specifically engineered for the grueling 24/7 demands of city life. These weren't passenger cars converted for hire, they were ground-up industrial machines. Hertz's focus on maintenance and durability caught the eye of GM executives who were looking to dominate every facet of the road. By the mid-1920s, General Motors was a powerhouse, but its president, Alfred P. Sloan, had an insatiable appetite for growth. Sloan's philosophy of a car for every purse and purpose required GM to look beyond the private driveway. He saw the burgeoning taxi and bus markets as the next frontier for vertical integration. If GM could control the production of the vehicles that moved the masses, they could secure a massive recurring revenue stream through parts and replacement fleets. The Yellow Cab Manufacturing Company offered the perfect entry point. It was already the largest manufacturer of taxis in the world. By acquiring them, GM didn't just buy a factory, they bought a market-leading position and the expertise of a specialized engineering team that understood high-mileage vehicle maintenance better than anyone else. The negotiations were intense. In August 1925, the deal was finalized. General Motors acquired a controlling interest in the Yellow Cab Manufacturing Company. This wasn't a simple cash buyout. It was a merger of interests that created a new entity, the Yellow Truck and Coach Manufacturing Company. As part of the deal, John Hertz remained a significant influence, ensuring that the operational culture of Yellow Cab remained intact. For the automotive world, this was a signal that the shade tree era of taxi operation was over. The era of the corporate fleet had begun. For the vehicle enthusiast, this meant that the rugged engineering found in yellow cabs would soon benefit from the massive R&D budget of General Motors, leading to some of the most over-engineered and durable vehicles of the pre-war era. Immediately following the acquisition, the focus shifted to engineering excellence. The Model T2 became the flagship of the new era. These vehicles were designed to be maintained, not just driven. For the modern enthusiast, the specs are fascinating. They featured heavy-duty leaf springs, reinforced frames, and easy-access engine bays. GM implemented standardized parts across the fleet, which meant that a taxi in New York could be repaired using the same components as one in Chicago. This level of standardization was revolutionary. It lowered the total cost of ownership and ensured that taxis stayed on the road longer. Owners of these vintage machines today marvel at the thickness of the steel and the simplicity of the mechanical systems, designed to withstand hundreds of thousands of miles of city potholes. The merger didn't stop at taxis. The newly formed Yellow Truck and Coach Manufacturing Company, based in Pontiac, Michigan, became the hub for GM's commercial vehicle ambitions. They began producing buses that would define American public transit for decades. By 1925, the company was leveraging Buick engines and GMC truck components to create a hybrid of passenger comfort and commercial strength. This was a strategic masterstroke. By utilizing existing GM power plants, they could achieve economies of scale that no other taxi or bus manufacturer could match. For today's restorers, this means that many internal engine components of these vintage 1920s yellow cabs are actually compatible with other GM vehicles of the era,
a fact that has saved many of these historical treasures from the scrap heap.
One of the most fascinating outcomes of the 1925 acquisition was the evolution of the Hertz driver self-system. When GM bought Yellow Cab, they also acquired the infrastructure for what we now know as the car rental industry. John Hertz had started the service in 1924, and under GM's wing, it expanded rapidly. It offered people who didn't own cars, or those traveling to new cities, the ability to drive themselves in a reliable GM-manufactured vehicle. This created a new consumer habit. It was the first time that the average person could test drive a new GM model for a day or two, effectively turning the rental fleet into a massive marketing tool for GM's consumer car divisions. It was a closed-loop ecosystem of manufacturing, service, and sales. Safety in the 1920s was often an afterthought, but the 1925 Yellow Cabs set new standards. GM's influence brought better braking systems and improved lighting. They popularized the use of a partitioned cabin, separating the driver from the passengers, which was as much about safety as it was about professional service. For the enthusiast, the interior of a 1925 Yellow Cab is a study in utilitarian luxury. The seats were covered in durable, easy-to-clean leather or heavy fabrics, and the floor mats were designed to be hosed out. This era saw the introduction of the taximeter as a standard, integrated component rather than a bolted-on afterthought. Every detail was curated to ensure the passenger felt they were in a professional, regulated environment, a far cry from the gypsy cabs of previous years. The impact of the 1925 acquisition can still be felt today. It established the blueprint for how corporate entities interact with city infrastructure. By the late 1920s, Yellow Truck & Coach was the dominant force in American bus manufacturing, a position it held for decades. The engineering lessons learned from the high-stress environments of taxi service were applied to GM's passenger cars, leading to advancements in suspension and cooling systems that benefited every buyer. For collectors, a 1925 Yellow Cab is more than a car. It's a piece of social history. It represents the moment when the automotive industry realized that its future wasn't just in the garage of the wealthy, but in the service of the general public. These vehicles paved the way for the transit-oriented cities we live in today. In 1925, General Motors didn't just buy a taxi company, they bought the future of the American street. The acquisition of Yellow Cab and the formation of Yellow Truck & Coach proved that reliability, branding, and mass-market engineering could reshape urban life. For the vehicle enthusiast, this era offers a treasure trove of rugged design and fascinating mechanical history. From the purpose-built Model O to the birth of the rental car, the ripples of this deal are still seen every time you hail a cab or rent a car at the airport. Thank you for joining us on this journey through automotive history. Whether you're a restorer, a buyer, or just a fan of classic iron, the story of 1925 is a reminder that the best machines are those that keep a world in motion.